Hello, this is God7, and today we are going to learn how to use Super Mario 64 DSe. Basically, the basics. So, first thing you're going to need is the editor, which I will put in the description, and a ROM you will edit, which you will need to rather find or dump by yourself. Now, open the editor, and open the ROM. It will say the ROM needs to be patched. Go ahead and just click yes, and it'll ask you to make a backup. I'm just going to call this like back.nds, and basically this is just in case you want backup of the original ROM. So now basically you can edit the level, you can edit the text in the game, you can edit the collision. There's an animator for BMD and BCA files. There's a help button to show you about, and you could update the object database and modify the editor settings. Now you can go ahead and also take a look through the file system, which I will probably explain in another tutorial, but well, not really. It's pretty simplistic. You can just extract or replace files. Like if I want to dump this file, I can just do that, and if I want to replace a file, I can do that. And for overlays are the code of the game, and before you edit them, you need to decompress, but you shouldn't have to worry about that for now. So first thing we're going to do is just edit any level. I already made a KCL tutorial, but let's just take a look at this main window here. And you'll see it's the standard Bob-on Battlefield. Use the scroll bar to zoom in and out. Use the right mouse to orbit, and the left mouse to pan. And soon you'll be moving around in no time. Alright, now there's a bunch of buttons, so let's move through them to make sure you don't get confused about what they do. First off, the screenshot button takes a screenshot of your current screen. Like, see, now I have this screenshot, which is useful sometimes if you want to show off to people what you're making. Then there's Orthogonal View, which shows basically the thing in 2D, almost. Kind of. You won't really have a use for this. And now let's explain the stars. You know, for a game, there's star 1, star 2, star 3. There's 7 stars per course. And basically, like, say, if you played the game, you'd know Bob-omb here is star 1. But if we go to star 2, we see things like Koopa the Quick, who appears only in star 2. Then for things like star 3, we have like the Chain Chomp out here. Then like 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. Unclicking the all stars removes all the objects that appear for every stars, just like clicking the 1 star removes everything for star 1. And activating star 2, you can't have both of these active at the same time. However, you can just disable star 1 though. But you shouldn't have to worry about those way too much. I mean, you won't see them too often. Now, another thing you need to do is look at all of these buttons. Now, obviously there's the save button that saves the level. However, it does not save. It doesn't matter if you save after importing a model or importing an XML. Those two things tend to save automatically. So now let's go into the export XML. Let's say for some reason I want to replace Wump's Fortress with this level. Basically, I can just export this XML And this XML is basically the equivalent to a level. Like pretty much I can just import level 6, and I just effectively copied a level right there. I can hit save, and if I go back, Wump's Fortress now is the exact same of Bob on Battlefield. So, now that's how XMLs work. Now it's time to deal with these buttons. Now 3D model lets you edit the 3D model. From another tutorial, I explained how to import level model using this feature, the model importer here. That's its own tutorial. You can export the current model of the level, although I can't seem to get those export models to import sometimes. You could import level models, like BMD files here are like models, like say this starbase.bmd, this would be the model for a power star. Or like say like these would be the different types of tree models, and I can like import the models or export them. Like let me just look at something like this model, which should be the painting model. There's its own texture. Like you can modify the painting textures here, which is pretty useful actually. I'm sure replacing painting textures is something you'd like to do when I make a tutorial on texture and model importing later. But for now, let's just look at some other features. You could export BMD models is pretty much the same as the export level, except you can choose a BMD model to export. Now let's move on to X objects here. And basically, simple enough, you can add an object, like say I want to add a Goomba, you just search Goomba and just select. Now objects are kind of interesting because and a lot of things here have some things called parameters. So if I look here in the index, those 3 dots over there, you'll see that parameter 1 is XWEC. X is nothing. W would be like if a cap should be spawned. E is extra contents. And cap to spawn is. And let's say I want it to spawn Luigi, even if he is not unlocked. So it would be 0, 2, 0, 1. So XWEC would be 0, 2, 0, 1. So I would put parameter 2 as 0, 2, 0, 1. And there, now he would always wear the Luigi cap, even if Luigi is not unlocked. And about moving objects and things, you can hold the left mouse to move them, hold right mouse to rotate them, use the mouse wheel while holding the left to move them back and forwards. These settings should be pretty useful, actually. Now let's take a look at some other things. Like you can replace models on these two, like, you know, just a basic model thing. Exporting, yeah, you can export dies. And an interesting thing is offset all coordinates. Now, let's say for some reason I wanted to make every object 0.5 blocks higher. I would check that and do that. Now I would hit update, and everything would now be 0.5 blocks higher. But to reverse that, I can just put negative and hit update, and now everything's back in the spot they originally were. Basically, scale all objects coordinates that multiplies how far they are. Like now every one thing would be 2 times as much higher, but the inverse of that is just 0.5. Once again, everything is back to normal. So that's addition, and this is multiplication. That's all you need to know about that. Then just save. Don't forget to regularly save your progress. And now let's talk about warps. Entrances are how you enter a level, like say you want to go into this level, like you start here. This is where you would start the level. Or like entrances is also like coming out of a pipe, coming out of a painting. Like it's where you enter out of. And you can add an entrance by add warp entrance. Remove it by remove object. I forgot to mention, like for objects, say I didn't want that Goomba anymore, I can just hit remove object. Simple enough. And now let me explain exits. Exits is kind of an exit to another place. Like I'm going into a pipe to exit the current world, or I'm taking an exit through the painting, and then I arrive at the entrance of this world. So exits point to entrances. You cannot enter an entrance. You can only enter an entrance through exits, if that makes sense. Like say if this, let's pretend this block is a pipe right here. Like, let's say I want this pipe to just lead back here for some reason. This would be an exit to Bob-omb Battlefield, and if you would jump in that pipe, it would take you to that right there. That's just an example, though. And I'll get more into depth about how entrances and exits work later. And doors, basically, they're what they sound like. There's different times, like this is a virtual door. Basically, you can control which area is inside and outside. There's things like, there's all kind of doors. And there's even doors that change character, like this will make you change into Luigi if you have them unlocked. And once again, the remove object. And teleport sources are kind of simple in progress. Like say I wanted to stand by this tree and teleport to that rock right there. The teleport source would be over there, since that's the source and that's the destination. So if you stand by the tree, you end up by the rock kind of thing. Of course, just doing that itself is not going to work, but I'll explain how teleports work in another tutorial. Of course, remember to regularly save. And now paths. Paths are kind of their own little thing here. But let's take a look at objects. Now, objects are a collection of these little nodes. Like say here, path object 2 is the one Koopa the Quick takes. As you can see, you see all of these nodes are highlighted to the route that Koopa the Quick takes. And how he climbs up the mountain all the way to the top. However, this right here is just an individual part of the path. They're kind of simple. You can add a path object, and you can add a node to an added path and remove object, of course. But I'll probably get into that in another one. Now views are kind of interesting things themselves as well. Like for example, when you enter a level, the camera is at its own angle because it's a view. Or sometimes when you pause a level, you'll see like the camera like point somewhere else. That's also a view. Or like how you exit a pipe or a painting, the camera may be different. That's view. Or even maybe just like stepping on a particular area might change the camera. All of those have to do with views. And lastly, we have Misc Items here. Now, map scales are exactly what it kind of sounds like. It adjusts how big the map is. Like, say the scale is too small, you could multiply it by 2 or whatever. And fog, obviously you remove objects like that. And I accidentally removed the fog, but basically how these work are, you can't really touch them, but basically you can control the density, how red, green, and blue they are, the start distance, and the end distance. Now let me just add that back. Density was 160. Don't forget to type it correctly. And yeah, the fog should be how it was before. An unknown type 14 object, no one really knows what they do yet. So, I don't know either. Of course you can remove objects, although I don't know what these things do, so don't worry about it. Map title ID. Now this is the ID of the mini-map to use. Like the mini-map is right here. And mini-map editing is its own thing, and I'll get to that in another tutorial. Now let's browse some of the more complex part of level editing in the basics. Not too complex, but kind of complex. Now let me look at the CLPS. CLPS are collision types. Like collision type, I don't know, ID like 21 is grass, so this ground right here would have collision type 21. And collision type 21 matches up with grass. For trolls, we can make it like poison, water, or like lava, or snow, or you can change how these interacts, but that's another story. Then we have texture animations, which allows you to animate textures. It's exactly what it sounds like. Like say you have a lava texture that you want moving. That's exactly what it does. Although I don't really know how to work it yet, so I'll make a tutorial when I can. And last, there's the level settings. Now let me get a good view of the background here. So this first part is pretty self-explanatory. The background, could be none. The sea, sky, cloudy sky, and you can just play around with it. Let's just make it the underwater sea, because why not? And now the next thing is the act selector ID. So let's look at the text. Just hit English, and let me tell you about the act selector ID. This is act 0. This is act 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and then it stops at 29. There are other areas IDs, but basically it's like, say I wanted this to be Bob-omb Battlefield to now pretend to be Lethal Lava Land. I can just set it to 8, which is 1 plus 7, and it'll act like Lethal Lava Land. Kind of confusing. Or no, sorry, it would be 6, 1 under what it's supposed to be. Sorry about that. And now this music is a little complicated, and it needs its own tutorial, and you need a special viewer to view where it's trying to point at. But basically, if you want to change the music, look out how these line it up in other levels and just change it to those values and you'll be fine. But I'll need to make another tutorial about that. Now these object banks I'll get in a minute. Like say, for example, I wanted to add a flame chomp, which is basically a gray ball that shoots fire. Add object, flame chomp. And you'll see it's red. But why is this object red? And if I try and save it, it'll be like, it'll give me this error message here. But this is because it's not in the object bank. Like, some objects require being in the correct object bank. Like if we look here, we cannot see. We need to find the flame chomp. If we look right here, we got the flame chomp. Sorry. There we go. Hit OK, and you'll see that the item is no longer red, and it'll let us save. However, if we want to add something like, I don't know, a scuttle bug, like say we want a scuttle bug in this level, we'll look and see, oh no, Scuttlebug is in the same object bank. What do I do? I mean, there's two things, and basically my answer is there's not really anything you can do. Unfortunately, you will have to remove the Scuttlebug, because you just can't have the Flame Chomp and the Scuttlebug in the same level without it crashing. It's unfortunate as it is. Basically, hope you enjoy this little tutorial here about how to basically edit the objects. Now let me just do a quick test to show you that this works. And no, never mind, I don't have the time to do that. So basically, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on basic editing with this editor. Please check out my other tutorials, and please comment, like, and subscribe.